Listen, my children, you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, Holy Man is now alive. Who remembers that famous day and year?
He said to his friend, "If the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang iron a loaf in the belfry arch of the north church tower as a signal light. One if by land, two if by sea, and I offshore will be, ready to ride and spread alarm through aimless village and farm, for the country folks be upped and armed."
Then he said goodnight with a muffled oar, silently rowed to the Charlestown shore. Just as the moon rose over the bay, where, swinging wide at her mooring, lay the Somerset British man-of-war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar.
And a huge black hawk that was magnified by eternal reflection in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend stood in alley and street, wonders and watches with eager ears. Till in silence him hears the men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and a tramp of feet.
And the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbed the tower of the Old North Church, by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread, to the belfry chamber overhead, and startled the pigeons from their perch on somber rafters that rounded him, made masses and moving shapes of shade.
By the trembling ladder, steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down, a moment on the roofs of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all.
Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead in the night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear like a sentinel's tread as a watchful night wind went creeping along from tent to tent.
And seeming to whisper all is well, a moment only he feels the spell of the place, hour, and secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. Suddenly his mind is bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river winds to meet the bay. A line of black bends and floats on a rising tide of a bridge of boats.
Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side, now he gazed at the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamped the earth, and turned and heightened his saddle girth, but mostly watched with eager search the belfry tower of the Old North Church. As it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still, and lo as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer, and then a gleam of light, he springs to the saddle. The bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes, till full on his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns.
A hurry of hoofs in a village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles in passing, a spark struck out by a steed fearless and fleet. And that was all. And yet through the gloom and light, the fate of the nation was writing that night, and a spark struck out by the steed in his flight.
Kindled the lantern to flame with its heat, he left the village and mounted the steep. Beneath him, the tranquil and broad and deep, the mystic meeting the ocean tides, and under the alders, the skirts its edge, now sought on the sand, now loud on the ledge, is heard the tramp of the steed as he rides.
It was 12 by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the bark of the farmer's dog, and he felt the damp of the river fog that rises after the sun goes down.
It was 1 by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed. The meeting house windows, black and bare, stare at him with a spectral glare, as if they stood. They already aghast at the bloody work they would look upon.
It was 2 by the village clock when he made it to Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the sweating of the birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadow brow. And one who was safe in bed asleep would be the first one to fall, who that day would be laying dead pierced by the British musket ball.
You know the rest of the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane and crossing the fields to emerge again, under the trees at the turn of the road and only pausing to fire and load.
So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance, not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door.
And a word that shall echo forevermore, for born in the night winds of the past, through all our history to the last.
In the hour.
In the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will awaken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofprints of that steed in the midnight message of Paul Revere.